So this is an action RPG that took about a decade to develop, starting as a solo project before growing into a team effort. The game has ambitious ideas and genuine charm, but it's also a game that comes with baggage you should know about before buying. The game throws you into a world where an authoritarian empire controls everything, and you are part of a resistance group trying to fight back. You take control of the main character, who's planning this big operation with his sister Louisa and their rebel friends to mess with the Emperor's birthday party. Everything falls apart when these meteor-like objects crash down and release creatures called Wirax. These things drain souls from people, and Louisa becomes a victim. So now the protagonist has to figure out how to get her soul back. The game's combat is hack and slash styled and focuses on sword fighting with combos that you can chain together. You press different buttons for light and heavy attacks, and you can launch enemies into the air and follow up while they're airborne. There's a dodge roll mechanic, and you can block attacks if you time it right. The interesting twist comes when your character teams up with this dragon creature, who basically lives inside him now, and gives him extra abilities. This lets you do things like shoot energy blasts from your sword, instead of just melee attacks. The combat absolutely is one of the best aspects of the game. It's not quite as smooth as in Stellar Blade, but it gets the job more than done. There's even this energy system where perfect dodges give you points you can spend on special moves. The upgrade system has skill trees to unlock new abilities. You can find different weapons throughout the game and customize them with fragments that change their appearance and stats. You can even place these fragments exactly where you want them, and they show up visually when you're running around. Now for the problems. The game launched with quite serious technical issues on PC, meaning crashes, frame rate drops and stability problems. The developers quickly started to acknowledge this and work on fixes. But the presentation itself also has some rough spots. Keep in mind this is a AAA price game. For example, there's stuff like the music cutting off suddenly when switching between eras, instead of fading naturally, which is actually atrocious. Even small indie games get this aspect right, but I don't know if it is intended or bugged. Some of the dialogue feels stiff and the voice acting quality varies quite a bit throughout the game. There are pretty excellent ones and there are also underwhelming ones. That is, if you stick to English voice acting. I switched to Japanese voice acting and it is much better. There are some basic polish issues, like the pacing in certain scenes can simply feel a bit off, but it's not that easy to describe for me, to be honest. So to me the €60 price point is a bit controversial, since the game comes from a smaller development team and shows its budget limitations. But then again, the game's publisher literally is PlayStation, so there's that. The game seems inspired by Final Fantasy games but does its own thing with the combat system and world building. Whether you will actually like it probably depends on how much you can tolerate unpolished elements, in exchange for an earnest attempt at creating something ambitious. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.